Max Abrhams is a political science professor at Northeastern University. I asked him about the options left to the rebels after the Syrian government's latest gains.
It's now unquestionable that the Syrian government has the upper hand. And so what the rebels are going to do, they really just don't have that many options. And so in practical terms, what they may do is surrender. They may go to Syrian regime territory and hope that they are not disappeared, hope that they're not tortured. They may go to Kurdish territory. They may try to move to another town near Aleppo called Idlib, which is even more radical than Aleppo. The problem with that is that, in all likelihood, the Syrian military, after targeting Aleppo, is really going to focus on Idlib. Already, both the Syrian and Russian militaries bomb Idlib, and I expect that pace to increase even more if more rebels are transported there. But the rebels don't have a whole lot of options.
And as you know, we can't talk about Aleppo, we can't talk about Syria without talking about the urgent humanitarian crisis there unfolding. The United Nations reports that hundreds of men from eastern Aleppo have gone missing after leaving rebel-held regions. That could be going on here. How does this illustrate the overall dangers for civilians there, do you think?
Well, it's of course very, very dangerous for civilians in Aleppo. I think that they are very desperate to try to get out. However, they're really not sure where to go. I think that many of the civilians, they are relatives or they're friends with rebels. And so if they go into government territory, if they go into government custody, there's a real risk, a real concern that they themselves will be treated not as civilians. So this is a real problem, of course. And furthermore, many of these citizens, they actually still feel quite attached to Syria. And so even though some of them have the option of going abroad, of becoming a refugee and going into Europe, many of these people don't actually want to do that. They really just want to return home. And so this is a very desperate situation. And the international community certainly recognizes the urgency of the problem. It's just very, very difficult to extricate the civilians because they are in between combatants. Not just the Syrian Air Force dropping, barrel bombs, not just Russian air power, but also the rebels. The rebels themselves are also responsible for a lot of the duress that the citizens of Aleppo are under. There have been many credible reports that essentially the terrorists or insurgents or rebels, whatever you want to call them, have been killing citizens of Aleppo if they express interest in moving to safety.
And that was Max Abrhams from Northeastern University.